do as long as what we normally do because it is Shabbat. And so we're going to go to the podcast in a little bit. And Minister Tamara's going to go ahead and take over from there for the service. And then after that, those that are part of the SOC family, if you want to continue with us, we're going to be on Zoom. And we should have the link for you guys. Google Calendar invite should be out soon for you guys to jump on there. But thank you for being on. If you're first time with us, we're on every rising at 8 a.m. Eastern, New York time. And we're on, no matter where we're traveling at, we're always going to be on 8 a.m. Eastern, New York time. And we're always on 8 p.m. Eastern, New York time, Mondays through Fridays. The only exception is Wednesdays when I have a day off. So hopefully you guys are there. Can you guys hear me all right? My voice, I know, is not anywhere close to what it would normally be. So thankful that I don't have to be on as long as today as I normally would be. But can you guys hear me all right before we get ready to go on? You guys can hear us all right? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Of course. Hold on. What are we doing? Yeah, but I'm thankful to be able to come in front of you all again. Been having a blast meeting everybody, getting ready and going around, meeting up with people, being ready to meet up in October together, coming up October 14th to the 16th. Excited about that. So we look forward to being able to talk to you guys more about that very soon. Okay, I think we almost got the last platform on. I was walking around in here. We're at a chain of hotel that we're used to staying at, but it's a little different than what we're used to dealing with. So I was just trying to walk around, find a place to come on. But I found this nice little spot out here, I guess, to be able to continue this conversation, continue these parts. So anyways, we're on part 5. And today we're talking about the second day, the third day, or the third period of time, or Yom Gamal. And we're going to go ahead and get into that and then get ready to go into the podcast mode and let Minister Tamara take over from there for our Shabbat Shalom service. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll just leave it like that for now. A lot of stuff going on. Trying to get set up. I think we got this going now. All righty. Okay, so may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. All right, hello to everybody. Welcome on. Hello, how you doing, Tremont? How you doing? Everybody who's on TikTok, trying to get things set up here. People who are coming on Facebook. If you're on TikTok, YouTube, or Facebook, we appreciate your presence today. And thank you so much for spending some time. Hopefully there's going to be a word that's able to help with some direction and stuff as we continue to look at things from a cultural perspective. No matter what we're talking about, if we're talking about things that are going on in the community, in the diaspora, with humanity, with the United States of America, United States Corporation, law, we're very much so on law, by the way, kingdom law, maritime law, marital law of attraction law, first mentioned, common law of equity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And trying to even figure out the difference between what's lawful and legal. We're always out here trying to make sure that we are keeping things from a kingdom perspective. So thank you for joining us once again. Hello, Tremont, how you doing? Big Brother Thomas, how you doing? Aphrodisiac, how you doing? User 380, 1 point. Minister Sonia, Bounty, Red Lions, thanks for being part of the community today. Brian Penn, or Brian, not sure, or no, Brian, probably Brian. What's his name? I'm sorry, I keep having a problem with Ransom. I can't ever put the name with the TikTok name. Dear brother too. Wow. that TikTok name. That's Brother Jermaine. I'm sorry. I told him it was gonna that messes me up for some reason. Um, how you doing, Sister Bree? Ed, Just Banks, Ms. Mack. This is song you were looking for us on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, we were trying to find a spot here that we could use that wasn't going to be bombarded with music and get us a strike saying we were copying off somebody else's music. How you doing? Oh, Fat, Fan and Lou. I'm going to do things according to the pace that I've been given. So this might not be the place for you if you want to tell people what they're supposed to do with the platform that they have an assignment on. But hopefully you'll be patient with us. How you doing, Lashandra? Minister Select Shantae, Just Banks, Ms. Mack, thank you for the love. What is it, Lim? Thank you very much. Sister Deja. Sister Dawn, if I didn't say so already. If I missed your name, please forgive me. I'm trying my best, but I am a human being. I do make mistakes. Prayer for you guys. Okay, you said law of attraction makes you project pure thoughts. The universe will get. Well, the word who made the universe is key, right? When you say universe, by the way, when you use the word universe, what does universe mean? Right? When we set our ground rules for this, we already talked about this briefly. But universe is what? Universe. A universe. Single spoken sentence, right? Uni is a, verse is a single spoken sentence. So if somebody's going to talk about the universe, you're talking about a single spoken sentence. So now if we know that the universe is a single spoken sentence, right, by definition, then you got to ask yourself who spoke that universe into existence. People talk about a multiverse, but before you can have multiple verses or multiple sentences, they'll talk about a universe, the verse that launched all the sentences. So then the next question, once again, is if we have a universe, then basically, who put that in existence, right? Right? So I'm just saying, a lot of people use stuff like, for example, people use the word psychology all the time. It's about the psychology, but what does psychology mean? Psyche or psyche in the Greek actually means soul. So if you say the logi or the logia, you're talking about the study of the soul. So when you go to a psychologist, they literally study your soul. That's the definition of it. We can argue about it all day long, but you might want to use a different word if you don't believe in the psyche or the soul. Right. So we use a lot of different things all the time. Right. We have a lot of different words that we use, a lot of different languages that are used, but we don't use proper etymology. How you doing, Sister Tracy? So today, and we want to make sure that we get on track with this. Now we're on the third day, Yom Gimel, part 5, and remember, each day is a period. I'm sorry, I said the third day. We're on the second day. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to change that later on these other platforms. I apologize. We're actually on the second day. Yom Beit. Excuse me. I'm changing that right now on YouTube. We are actually on the second day, or Yom Beit. We went over day 1 yesterday. Excuse me. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for the correction. All right. How you doing, Sister Beverly? Sorry, I missed you over there. So if we're going to discuss these things in this Yom and these periods of time, on the second period of time, when it says the waters separate from the waters, right? When we say the waters separated from the waters, how you doing, Sweets? If the waters separate from the waters, what are we talking about? Right? The waters separated from the waters. Now, we talked about yesterday that the Ravak HaKodash, or you call her the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, etc., she hovered upon the face of the water, right? She hovered over the face of the water, right? So that's what the Holy Spirit did. How you doing, Miss Pierce? So she hovers upon the face of the water and said, Yahweh said, let there be enlightenment. And it was over the face of the water, but there was still some confusion that went into the depths of things, right? So to say that just because you've been enlightened means that you don't have to separate enlightenment from confusion, or what we call the light from the dark, right? The light from the darkness is the enlightenment from the confusion. Remember, actual physical light, if you're talking about context, physical light doesn't start until you actually get to the fourth Yom, or the fourth day, the fourth period of time, right? Where the access comes in, when the light comes in, Dalit, when that access to light comes in, that's not till Yom Dalit. We're on Yom Beit, right? And Yom Aleph, or the first period of time, is when enlightenment hit. He said, let there be enlightenment, and there was enlightenment. When you actually read the word, a lot of us don't read the language and the culture that it's in, right? So when you don't read language, or you don't look at something from the culture, from what it's in, you have bad interpretation. So enlightenment happened, but enlightenment happened to where you had to separate, go through a process of now separating enlightenment from darkness. And so now as the water, the spirit, the mem, the water, the blood, and spirit mixed together, right, is purified. Now there's coming a point to where separation continues, to a point to where things are separated, to say this is things that are in heaven and this is things that are in earth, right? So we have the upper seas they talk about, you have the lower seas, right? And then you have the choir. We talked about being careful about that firmament piece, because firmament is a Greek god. Remember, in Greco-Roman philosophy, there was a big bang. The big bang was Gaia. Gaia gave birth to the firmament and to Neptune. The firmament had sex with his mama up top. Neptune took care of the waters on the bottom. And then everything in between that landed on the earth, that came out of Neptune and Gaia's union. Okay? So we have to be careful when they throw words in. We're not even aware of these words that have been thrown in, but firmament is thrown in. There is no such thing as a firmament, at least not as far as our culture is concerned. How you doing, Lafayette? So if you say that you're in the kingdom of heaven, or you say you believe in the Bible, or you say you're Cristianos or Christian or whatever the case might be, well, you probably should learn a couple things that we talked about. Barashat, that's the first word. That first word has 6 characters. Bet, Aleph, Resh, Shin, Yao, Tav, which literally means the son that comes out the right family is one with the Father, becomes our head by being destroyed, by being led by the Holy Spirit to the cross. That's the first word of the Bible. Barashat. And people have no clue what that is. They don't know how to write it out. We've already written that out. We already had that recorded. First things first. Secondly, you should probably recognize that that enlightenment is what happened when it said, let there be light. It's a different word. And light, the sun, the moon, and the stars don't even come into existence until the 4th day or Yom Dalet, or the 4th period of time. Then you must also comprehend that if you're going to talk about the firmament is a Greek god. And if you believe that there's no Elohims, or no gods, or no netchers, and no deities, and no spirits that exist outside or above your Elohim, then you should probably stop using that word, because you don't know what that word is. You don't know. Somebody changed your Bible, right? That's why you need to, we say all the time, read your Bible, it'll bless you. Problem is, though, is that people are reading without culture. Right, we talked about this several times, right? You might be able to give a greeting. You might be able to say, hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? You might be able to say, bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi, ça va? You might be able to say, ni hao, namaste, osayu, ohio. You might be able to say, aqua abba, at the same. You might be able to say, Shabbat Shalom, Anan Kofi, right? You might be able to do a plethora of things, describe a lot of different things. You might be able to say, Kabari or Jambo, Mimini Kofi, Ninefra Kukutana Nueve. And all these things that you just said, all those are greetings, but all those greetings mean something completely different within the culture that they're in. Some of them, I said, peace be upon you. Some of them, it said, hello. Some of them, it was, hey, greetings and bow down unto you when you say it. Some of it was talking about, some of it was formal, some of it was informal, right? This is all culture that's playing out in front of you. And a lot of us are missing the culture that's represented in the word of Yah. As much as we profess to be experts at it, we don't even know the first word. Because the first word is not Genesis, the first word is Barashat. We don't even know that light didn't happen until the 4th day, because it tells you that. So when you say let there be light, you're reading something in English, Anglo-ish. It's not even Anglo, it's Anglo-ish. It's not even Anglo, it's Anglo-ish, right? It's English. It's kind of sort of English. It's like if somebody says I speak Spanish. Well, if you speak Spanish, you could speak Spain, or you could speak Puerto Ricano, or you could speak Cubano, right? Or you could speak, like, it depends. You could, in Cubano, in Miami, it's gonna sound different sometimes than it does in Cuba, right? Like when you say you speak Spanish, it's ish, right? Some people say they or speak, like when people say they speak Shwe, right? My culture, on one side of my family, we speak Shwe. Well, as a Shwe, is it Ashanti Shwe, right? Like there could be a lot of stuff. Is it Ashanti, which is pretty close? Are we talking about Mali? Are we talking about Timbuktu, right? If you're talking about Kemet, are you talking about actual Kemet? Are you talking about people who've taken over Kemet, called it Egypt now, right? Are you talking about Greco-Roman philosophy that got into Kemet? Like, which one are you talking about? We're speaking in culture, And so we have a problem because we're trying to separate and get enlightenment. But in the second yam, in the second period of time, remember, you are the earth. The same thing the earth, aratz asase, the same thing that the earth is made out of is the same thing that you are made out of. Right? So now in the creation of the earth, you got to look at creation of yourself. Where are you at? Right? What are you going through? What is the enlightenment period, and what are you willing to separate? A lot of people, that's why I praise Yah that I was able to come up. I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, right? But I'm blessed to be able to not have to worry about the 9 to 5 piece anymore. You know what it allowed? It allowed for me to start separating a lot of stuff in my life. Like I started separating and and I got to a place where I could separate and get pure and realize like money doesn't even exist. So why am I able to get land, and why are we able to do certain things, and why are we able to like start growing our own food and do these things at multiple places? Why can we travel a little bit? Because I invest something that's not real money so that I can get stuff that's real, right? Like it's a cultural context. The earth is more real than money. Money is a genetically modified substance. Somebody took what we use to wear and told you to start trading it. Like, when you trade money, you're trading cloth. You see, like there comes a point to where we have to, how you doing, Minister Rochelle? There comes a time that we have to start separating. Like you got to start separating from certain things, and you got to put things at shamayam, at aras. That's why Genesis 1:1 actually says, "But barishat bara elachem at shamayam at aras." That was the goal the whole time, was to get something to where there was required that hard substance that some of y'all still call firmament, right? To be able to separate the things up here from the things down here. Why? Because eventually, Genesis 1:26-28, you're supposed to have dominion. Problem is that you blaming everybody else for everything. But where is your dominion? What do you dominate in? Have you started separating yourself for domination? I mean, for you to dominate. Like a lot of people separate to dominate. That's why a lot of people are still part of the United States corporation. People are working real hard to become part of the corporation. But people who are really doing the stuff, I've said this before, you might get mad at Trump, or you might get mad at Gates, or you might get mad at whomever. But the reality is that the stuff that they're talking about with taxes and stuff are the stuff that you should be able to do yourself. Right? The things that are happening as far as them not having to pay taxes, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. But you don't know benefits and privileges. Right? You don't know how to get something to where it's recognized, to where like if if it's something that your hands are not necessarily touching, you shouldn't be paying taxes for it. How you doing, yesterday? Like these are things where people have separated themselves from us, and it's common. It's common. The access to the knowledge is common, but the knowledge has not become common. Right? It's Hebrews chapter 10 verse 2 that we have a zeal for Elohim, but we don't do things according to knowledge or intimacy. Then here's another knowledge verse, right? Oh, people say this all the time, but we don't put it together. My people perish what? But for a lack of knowledge, right? Intimacy, right? And it says it's not that knowledge is not available. It says that you have rejected knowledge. That's Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. What about equity? People talk about all this stuff about, you go to these churches and these big places and they keep telling you about this stuff, but nobody teaches you about equity. But Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3 tells you that you got to know about equity. Right? Proverbs 22, 6 and 7 tells you that train up a child in the way that it should go, so when they get old, they won't depart from it. But what's the next verse say? Next verse says that you have to train them up in that, because the lender will always be subservient. I'm sorry, the lender will always have the borrower be a servant. So if you want your child to be able to come to what they're supposed to be, you have to make sure that you start teaching them what it is to be a lender. Why is it that your children don't know about lending? Why is it that your children don't know about building up their own brand? Why is it that your children don't know about business? Why don't we teach business? Why do people go to churches all over the world and not one time are they told this stuff? This is in your Bible. What about Proverbs 13:22? Everybody always quotes the end of it, that the wealth of the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Problem with that is, though, you got to read the first part of the verse. First part of the verse is that you got to think about generational wealth. Are you thinking about your children's children? If you're thinking about your children's children, then the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Why? Because even the wealth of the wicked have enough sense to take care of their children's children. Here you are tithing, no problem with it, right? Tithing, but can you live off of 10% of your own income? Until you can live off of 10% of your own income, you're not separated. Here's another one. right? Here's another one, just scripture after scripture. These are things in your Bible. You say you believe these things. Here's another one. Why are you trying to be the same as everybody else when you're supposed to be a holy nation, a royal priesthood, a peculiar people, a chosen generation? You're not supposed to make sense. You're not supposed to fit in. If you're gonna get, watch this, if you're gonna give somebody 10%, and people do it all the time. Some people give 10% of their income every, or attribute every month to alcohol. Some give people 10 people give 10% to video games. Some people give 10% to cars, right? So people give tribute and tithe to whatever. So whatever you give your tribute to, can you at least make sure that you give 10% where you're investing it in yourself? Are you separating yourself from the crowd? Everybody else in the crowd, they just wait for the 1st to 15th every 2 weeks, every week, whatever. They cash their check, they live paycheck to paycheck. Maybe they get a house. And even when they get the house, they don't even try to get a house that has land. They don't try to grow food, so they don't have to buy that anymore. Like, we're not doing these things. We're not operating in the separation. We'll see if we can get to that. Psalm 82, verse 6. Right now I'm in Genesis chapter 1, verse 5 through 8. But we're not separating ourselves. There's a level you're supposed to go to. How you doing, Michelle? Thanks for being on today. There's a level that you should be going to. There's a level you should be looking for. There's something that you should be pressing towards, right? I press towards the mark of the high calling, the mark, the top, the place that it's finished. These are cultural things that we don't recognize. We don't know how to read into. So you have this require that's supposed to basically require that certain things are in heaven. Why? Shabbat Shalom. How you doing, Sister Mary? And that certain things are what? On Aratz, or on earth. Why? Because you are supposed to dominate. You are supposed to dominate. And a lot of us live being dominated. We talk about this all the time. There's a difference. And look, I've had two. I come from a father that worked 2.5 jobs. I worked 2.5 jobs myself before at the same time. I came from the United States military, still trying to work part-time stuff. I come working 2 jobs and trying to make sure I started my business and everything. I get it. I'm not saying that this stuff is not worthy of going through. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do now so you can do what you're called to do later, right? But there's a difference between work and job. People don't even know that. Like, the word job means to toil. The word work means to do what you call to do. And a lot of people live unsatisfied. I'm thankful and grateful to the people who job out, who toil, and are willing to do so for their family, of course, right? But that's not what your existence is supposed to be about. To job out for somebody else, so that somebody else would be able so somebody else would be able to be in their work. You're going to toil for them, but you don't toil to make sure you could be in your work. Right. Like, that's why when we go to these places, when we visit you guys, when we're looking at trying to get land together, when we're growing our food, when we're sowing seed, when we're putting your businesses up online so that you guys can trade with each other versus having to trade with somebody else. Like, why are we not? We talked about that last night. Work for yourself. If you're going to job out, if you're going to toil for somebody else, if you're going to work 50 years, 40 years to be able to get a watch and hopefully let these people keep your Social Security intact, right? Like, if you're going to do that, then you might as well make sure that you will do some work for yourself, invest in yourself. If you can give somebody else some finances, fine. They should be teaching you how to make sure that you invest in yourself. Where is your manifestation? Right? Where is your manifestation? Where are the things that you're supposed to manifest? Where are the things that's supposed to happen for you? Right? And this is not me trying to say that you're bad. This is not me trying to say, but let's be honest. Like, we live in a world, in a system. Remember, that word world comes from this concept of cosmos with a K. That means system. So when it says be in the world but not of it, it's talking about be in the system but not of it. And we were taught to be in the system, but we weren't taught to escape it. So we go home, we still think about system. When we wake up, we're thinking about how can I make sure I make money for the system. When we do stuff, we sign when our children are born, we sign on their documentation, on their birth certificate, be in the system. When we give them a Social Security card, they don't even have to have one. By the way, it's actually, remember, it's actually, for those of you who take sovereignty class with us, it's that you've learned it's actually illegal for somebody to use your Social Security number as a form of identification. You're not supposed to do that, but we sign everything away to the system so much, and we live to it. We're guided by it. We can't wait to partake in it every single day, right? We can't wait to participate in it every single day, right? To job out, to toil, and we have no clue on how to separate. What you say? Oh yeah, now you're trying to pull people out the system. Yeah, well, we're not aware of those things, and we don't recognize these things. You've got to separate. That's why the second day, the second Yom, is of such vitality and such importance and plays such a role in your life. You've got to be able to separate. You got to be able to. Now the enlightenment has happened, but it's on the surface level, like we talked about yesterday. There's still some darkness, some confusion on the parts of the deep, and so you got to purify, right? So that separation coming as you purify the top part, you give that first piece, right? So imagine there's a bunch of water. You purify the first part of the water, right? And you purify that first part, and as it's purified, it gets separated. The first part goes up into the high portion, the upper seas. As that's purified, that belongs to who? You see, even the spiritual law, the principle. How you doing, Brother Clem? See, even the spiritual law, the principle. First thing that happens is once we get some enlightenment, we do what? We give it to him. Let him be over it. Thank you for the love, Just Banks. Let him do what he does with it. Let him be over it. Let him make decisions with it. Let him be able to influence what you're doing, right? Become part of a culture, a kingdom that doesn't change, right? If Yahweh is the king and he says, I am the Lord, I change it not, that means that the kingdom, the culture that he's in, it changes not. Right? One of the reasons you have a tough time, even if you believe in all this voting and the United States Corporation and you don't know that there's 3 constitutions and all these, even if you're not aware of those things, and these are things that are legal. I'm telling you, like legally, if you read your constitution, you think they think it's real. People don't know, right? So even if you're unaware of those things, do you think that it's smart to be part of a corporation that gives you a new face, not a new government, but a new face of the government every 4 years, every 8 years? You think that that's smart? Think about it. Think about it. Do you think that it's intelligent for us to be part of a corporation? Hear what I'm asking. To be part of a corporation that changes the face of it every 4, 8 years? Or if somebody passes away, they would have to change it as well. Do you think that that's intelligent? Does it make sense to be, if you are going to start a family and every 4 years there's going to be a new father? Does that make sense? Every 4 years we're going to put a new mama on there. No, it doesn't make sense at all. Oh, thank you for that, Minister Sonia, using that Reiki slash kingdom movement. I see you healing through words, healing through that, getting that testimony up, right? But it doesn't make sense to do that. Exactly. If leadership makes sense, you wouldn't have to have new leadership in all the time. It doesn't make sense. Now, but the trick of the enemy is to get you to vote every few years. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat. If you're a Republican or Democrat before you're a kingdom citizen, something's off with you anyways. If you're a Republican or Democrat before you're a human being, something's off with you anyways. If you'll argue with something because of the color of skin or because of how much influence government has, not realizing that everything you do is connected to government anyway, then something's off with you anyways. Right? Yeah, that doesn't make sense, especially with the campaign and the false promises, right? But at the end of the day, the reality is they keep selling you on, oh, it's going to be a change. There's going to be a change. There'll be a change this time. Oh yeah, you didn't like well, you didn't. I mean, think about it. You didn't like Carter. Okay, we got Reagan. You didn't like Reagan. Okay, here's Bush. Well, Bush and Reagan part of the same regime. Well, okay, fine. You didn't like that one. Well, here's Clinton. Well, Clinton did some bad stuff to black people. Well, okay, you know what? We'll come back to the real people. Go with Bush. Well, Bush came along and he said no child left behind, and then left everybody behind. Well, okay, you didn't like that person. Well, look at Obama. See, he's the first black president. Actually, he's not the first black president. He didn't care about black people, cared about LGBTQ plus. Well, okay, we didn't like him. Well, let's go ahead and give you Trump. Well, Trump did this and blah, blah. Well, you didn't like Trump. Let's give you Biden. And then guess what? They're probably going to give you Trump right back. And while they're doing all that, the corporations who are in charge, who tell the president what to do, they've been the same leadership. They're strong in leadership. So they got us fighting over foolishness, right? Because we're looking at everybody else, but they're strong in their leadership. They're strong. They're solid, right? They don't move. They're solid. You might not like me saying that about them because you know that they negatively influence things. but they're solid. They're on point. They don't change. And they are dedicated to making sure that what their culture is going to stand. They separate themselves from people. They have different classes that they're in. And they separate everybody to get everybody to fight. They have different classes they try to put us in. Right? And they do everything they can. And all they have is going through the same motion. They give you some technology. They even have the audacity to tell you that things have changed. Oh, you got cell phones now, so you guys can't talk about, bad things happening. You guys have cell phones. That's part of people's argument when it comes to classism, feminism, racism, Nazism, any schisms, right? Classism, I just mentioned, misogyny, misandry, right? Male chauvinism in general, right? People don't even know the difference between male chauvinism and chauvinism. Right, but people will argue. Why do you guys say that you need to make sure that you as black people are respected more? I mean, you have cell phones. Compare that. You didn't used to have cell phones. Now you have cell phones. What does that have to do with anything? That's why people have Dunning-Kruger effect, because they don't know how this stuff works. What does that have to do with anything? I have a cell phone. Therefore, because I have a cell phone, I can't be looked down upon by somebody. Like, that's people's argument. I've had people argue, man, you know what? You live in the United States of America. How dare you say the United States of America? The United States of America has more blood on its hand by far than the Confederacy. The Confederacy only existed for 4 years. That's less than 2% of the United States of America's story. And that's only if you start at 1776. You see what I'm saying? That's only part of the story. But they separate you. So why not separate yourself according to knowledge? Still saying nothing's changed. I've seen more abuse in the name of submission and holiness than I care to think about. Yeah. Said homeless people have 2 cell phones. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't have any cell phones. But I'm just saying, you will find some strange arguments that people begin to use because they've heard somebody else make it. And the reality is, yeah, Podbean's not on. I'm missing a device right now. I don't know where it is. And I really didn't have time to try and get it together. So I do apologize. We'll try to see about making that up in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, like all these different things that are going on. And people are arguing about this as if it's reality, as if there's truth to it. Right? The government will do whatever it can to make sure that has us fighting over things. They'll separate you. But you're supposed to separate yourself and so put certain things in the kingdom and certain things here so that you can have dominion. Right? What is your home? When you step into your home, does your home look like Yasharel? I mean, that's what some of us say we are. Does your home look like Yasharel? Separate yourself. Start there, right? Does your mindset look like Yasharel when you speak? Do you speak like everybody else does? Oh yeah, they got cell phones in DC and New York and all that. Right? Do you look like the kingdom? Do you look like what you're saying you're grafted into? Do you look set apart? Not just physically. I'm talking about, do you sound set apart? Does it sound like that there's certain things? Now watch this. See, our Father who art in heaven, going to our sweet spot, Sermon on the Mount. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth, or even through this earth, through this society, but on earth, the same way it is in heaven. There's a require, and it's required that on one side you get to be pure and everything gets to be separate and everything gets to be yours. You get to be the one to set the example, right? And so therefore, everything I'm doing down here, the upper seas, you got that. The lower seas, the lower water, the things of the spirit down here, that's supposed to be on me. Right? The things that you do up, they're supposed to be yours. You got that, right? But my goal is to try and make perfection manifest here on earth. Perfection, your perfection should look like you. It should sound like you. It should act like you. And it should come down here to earth. You, right? It is natural that there's a division even in where we are. Yahweh is in a class all by himself. His kingdom, his throne room is in a class all by itself. And that's why when you go there, you give it ultimate respect. Yes, you come before his throne boldly, but you must respect him as the king that he is. If you're not going to respect him as the king that he is, then you got this thing twisted. You put him in his proper place. And once he's in his proper place, what? Then let your will be done on earth the same way it's done in heaven. You got to separate and realize that he's greater than you. This is why when people come on and they say, oh no, we're all gods. We're all the same. You can become whatever. There's no real God above you and blah, blah. Even if they believe in spiritual, they say that, well, time out. If there's no separation, then you become the God. Then you become the person that needs to be over both heaven and earth. So if I'm having problems with heaven and earth, I need to come to you and you need to have a plan prepared. Problem is you don't have no plan prepared because the reality is you're not on his level. Okay, we're all one, but we're all one part of the puzzle. So everybody has a puzzle piece that they're supposed to bring. The person who created the puzzle in the first place and said this is how it's going to work is above. And whether you want to or not, he's going to be the key. That's why Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 starts off by saying, I'm the one that's holy, I'm the one that's true, and I have the key of David. Like, we got to start there with him. Now, if you want God, once again, we don't worship God. I don't worship God. I don't worship God. That's why I don't worship man, because God's no bigger than man. It's a Germanic culture thing. You're dealing with a different culture. I don't worship God. I don't come. That's who I worship, because he's greater than God. So somebody who's trying to be stuck on God level, fine. Somebody who wants to be the point God, the basketball God, Black Jesus, this, that, whatever, you can do that. You're okay. He didn't just start at earth. What does that mean? Where do you exist? Before you start talking about the existential power and the esoteric and the energy and the universal cosmological mindset that's able to marry all the prisms, even from dark matter into different things or whatever, like, how are you going to deal with people on earth if we're going to jump past earth? Yes, of course he created the universe. That's why there's universal law. Right? Today I'm focused on earth, though. And the second day, the second yom, the second period of time. He said, what is the throne? He wants us to sit in with him like he sits with the Father. What is the throne? The throne is, once again, you have dominion here. There's separation. You have dominion right here. Even the throne of David is going to come into existence when you talk about Revelation, when before the 1,000-year reign, before the devil is let out again, because the devil's not in hell right now. He's going to be put in hell for the first time. But even when you talk about that 1,000-year reign, after you finish there, you still have to you still have to realize, like, there's a separation between where we are and where he is. So we rule as kings and queens under him right now. We're supposed to. Right? Your throne is your throne can be your influence. Your throne can be your family. Your throne can be your house. Your throne can be a lot of the environment that's upon the earth right now. Right? These thrones that we're talking about. But your throne is in different places. Now, if it's Revelation chapter 3, verse 21, that's talking about the sixth assembly still. So that's the assembly, I believe, if I have my stuff correct. Hold on, wait a minute. No, that might be the fifth assembly. Or sorry, the seventh assembly of the assembly of Laodicea. But it's just talking about, you receiving your crown. You got to put Revelation chapter 2 and Revelation chapter 3 together to make that make sense. It can't just be by itself. And we talked about that before already. It's in our Revelation Revisited series. So if you want to go back and look through that, I'm not sure. Like I don't know if I have it marked by saying Laodicea or something like that, but we've got 40 parts, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like, there's separation. And now what's happened is we become shy. To get back on track, we become shy about separation. right? We become shy about separation. So everything is about separate. Like there's separation that goes on every day, right? And we become shy about separation. The reality is like you shouldn't be shy about separation. Come out of her. Separation. You got a little bit of enlightenment. There's still darkness and confusion. Give the as the confusion dissipates, give the enlightened peace to the Most High. Right. Study to show yourself approved unto Elohim. Right. And then as you continue to go once separate, and it's time for you to have dominion over this bottom part, you can be what? A workman that needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Oh, amen. We praise y'all for it. Thank you, Sister Bree. Right. Oh, thank you, Minister Sonia. Yeah, if you want, please give those likes, shares, all that great stuff or whatever. I guess apparently I can start promoting the lives a little better on TikTok. I don't know how that works yet, but we'll try that. Maybe we'll start trying that tomorrow. But thank you for that. Yeah, if there's any, we appreciate your likes, shares. If you're on YouTube or become somebody who's on YouTube, we appreciate your likes, shares, comments, even your subscriptions if you want to go there. If you want to become a subscriber, part of the family, and even if you want to go further and hit that notification tab so when a video comes out, you're able to see it right away. Hey, how you doing? Shabbat Shalom. Oh, Sister Tracy, you came over to YouTube. Cool. So, I'm sorry. How you doing, Arthur? I missed you coming on. Right. So we have to be aware of these things, and we got to be real about these things. That separation is key. Separation is what's going to take your business to the next level. When your business stops trying to be like everybody else's, that's when your business can be seen. It's really funny, right? That's the first thing that they teach you is you go into business, you go to a seminar, and everybody says, okay, this is exactly how I made it. I want you to do it, right? Versus saying, hey, what is your business? Okay, this is how I would use these certain tools to inform people about your business. But first thing that people do, make your business look like everybody else's. Why? First thing everybody does, hey, I'm called to preach. Cool. Go to this school. Let them tell you how to act, walk, talk, teach, do all these things. You're probably going to be mystified, and so mystified with it that a lot of people drop out once they go to seminary. A lot of people stop preaching once they go to seminary, or they start doubting because they start learning things and they start realizing, oh, okay, well, none of this seems to be factual. And then they come back, or they come back sounding exactly like somebody else, or they want to sound like their pastor or preacher or whatever of choice. And the reality is you need to be yourself, set apart, holy, right? Set apart, separated within yourself. Who are you? Who are you? Yeah, that's their success, right? You can use some tools, but don't worry about their success. They got to deal with their own success. Now, if you're one of their successors, if you're going to continue what they're doing, I'm out. Like figure that out. But we go to the wrong place. Separate yourself. You said because they got away from y'all's appointments and caught up in the customs. Most deaf. You got to figure out. Like, how they say, who are you? Or how they say, like, whose man's is this? Like, whose man's is this? It's like, who you belong to? Who taught this person? Like, this person different. Now, they're usually using that in a negative manner, but sometimes they're using a positive manner. Like, you see somebody dunk on somebody, and person dunking, and they're like, oh, whose man's is this? You know what I'm saying? Like people should look at you and be like, oh, like you don't fit in. You separated. Something about you is not the same. Something about your puzzle piece doesn't fit in. I'm so glad I found your puzzle piece because we wouldn't be able to see the whole thing without you. That's really what they're saying. But we've been taught to make sure that we fit in exactly, to look exactly like everybody else, and to be exactly like everybody else. But they can't make no more of you. They can't make any more of Israel either. They can't make no more of Afrique. They can't make no more Alkebulan. They can't make no more Cherokee. They can't make no more Seminole. They can't make no more Taino. They can't make no more Olmec. It is what it is. And people get upset when we start talking about who we are. Why? Because the second that you determine who you are, you start to become a problem. Remember, it's not love that is the enemy of this wicked system. It is our love, right? Yahshua said, but love one another the way that I have loved you. Right. And it's by your love towards one another that people will know that you are his disciples. We are supposed to love our enemy, but the love towards our enemy is not what people are going to look at to see if we're his disciples. Uh-oh. Read your Bible. It'll bless you. You're exactly you. Amen. We are not the same. All that stuff, right? Let me say that again. It says that our love, the way that we love one another, and it has to match Yahshua's love, who is out of the same culture. He's bit the same culture that we're in. The same culture that we're in, right? Our love is the weapon. When you start acting upon a chaba, when you start having the love or the actions of the Most High, and you start giving that to each other, then you become a weapon. And that's why every time you shown love to each other, that's why they tried to kill you. That's why they killed Malcolm. That's why they killed Martin. That's why they killed off Tulsa. Right? That's why they put us underground. I can't remember the place underground. There's a few places are underground, underwater that they put us. They actually put in what park is that in New York? Been there several times, even somewhat recently. Park in New York. I can't remember the park in New York right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Famous park, people run through and all that stuff, and it's supposed to be bad at night and all this stuff. Central Park, thank you. Central Park, they literally put us underground there every time. But guess what? We never really came together there, or we never protected ourselves. We never put Malcolm together with Martin. We never put Malcolm or Martin together with the Black Panthers. And we never put Malcolm, Martin, and the Black Panthers together, who all existed in the same time frame, by the way. We never put them together with Medgar, and put them together with Marcus, and put them together with Dr. Amos Wilson, and put them together with Dr. Joy DeGroy, and put them together with Harriet Tubman, put them together with Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, same time frame, doing something very similar. Ain't really do nothing together, though, because they don't mind us doing things to a certain degree. But when you start doing things holistically together, we got problems. We got a problem. When we're separated from another, thank you, Sister Miko, even when we're doing righteous things, as long as you can be right, as righteous as you want, just don't come together, right? You can have the power of the hand, ready to slap somebody, right? But don't bring it together and make it a fist, because they know that when it's come to see, they know there's power in the slap. Right? And it's the meaning to be slapped. And it's the meaning as it is to be slapped. A lot of men would rather be punched than be slapped. I'd rather be knocked out than to be slapped in front of everybody. To be slapped is extremely disrespectful. However, I know that if you slap me, I'm probably not going to get knocked out. But if you punch me, if you hit me right, I'm probably going to get knocked out. Right? They know that it's okay to be disrespectful to you because you're separate. And you'll take the disrespect because you think it's less than the punch, less than the knockout blow. But as soon as you start separating and saying, you know what, I'm going to separate from them. And as I'm separating, I'm going to turn this into a fist. You become stronger, right? Your strength is in your union. That's why your marriage, that's why we're talking about our love. Your marriage is extremely powerful. That's why we talk about marriage all the time. Why? Because we disavow the importance of marriage. We don't recognize it. But if you ever come together as one, even if you fighting, but you come together as one. A lot of people do that. They be fighting for a season, but publicly you come together as one. That's powerful. You'll make that thing last for months, even if y'all can't stand each other, but you try in front of the children or you try in front of others. Y'all publicly come together as a fist to hit somebody. How you doing, Dennis? Right? You will publicly come together. How you doing, Cash? You will publicly come together to hit somebody, to knock somebody out, to knock out anybody. You can talk bad about my husband. You can talk bad about, or I can talk bad about my husband. I can talk bad about my wife. But the second you talk bad about him, like we might be slapping each other and it might be disrespectful over here, but you ain't knocking nobody. Or if you try to slap somebody up in here, we knocking you out, right? I'm telling you, right? If you would come together, there'd be less ulcers in your life. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. There'd be less ulcers in your life. There'd be less kidney stones in your life. If you could just simply come together, right? And realize that you're a fist. If you ever realize that you have the power to be able to change things by uniting, right? You would stop fighting one another like that, because you would realize once again, our love is the greatest strength that we have. Not their love, not love in general, our love. Right? They don't kill Chinese people because Chinese people get married. They don't talk bad about Scandinavian men and say that Scandinavian men are trash. They don't say that Russian men are terrible men, even though Russian men be doing all types of wild stuff to women over there. They don't disrespect their wives. If their wives don't want to be called Karens, they fight for their wives. Over here, though, they're trying to get you what? To separate from each other rather than separate from the system. You got a little bit of enlightenment now. It's time to start phasing out all that confusion. You heard me? You heard me? Right? It's time to start phasing out all that confusion. That darkness is still upon a lot of us. And we're not going to, we won't, you can't thrive in division. You've been surviving, and praise y'all for it. I'm thankful that you survived. Some of you been living. I'm thankful that you've been living, right? But he came that you might have life and more abundantly, right? Like it's time to step outside of where we've been going through the same procedure, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Time is up. How you doing, Melvin? Shabbat shalom, right? Time is up. Time is up. The division has to happen. You think that it's wrong. You think that it's wrong for us to tell people that you're supposed to divide, but you've been divided your whole life. You should separate people into as many groups as possible, get them fighting amongst themselves and conquer. Yeah. You've been separated your whole life. You grew up in a system that separated you. Why was it bad for you to be separate now? Matter of fact, you've been separating the things that have been killing you. Why won't you separate into something that'll give you life? See, that's the lie. When somebody says we should nation build, they say, oh, you're into nationalism. See, you're a nationalist. Nationalists are bad. What do you think the United States Corporation is? You think it's a nation? It's a false nation, but do you think it's a nation? You've been in a nation separated where they keep telling you that they're the best nation on the planet. A lot of y'all been in that nation your whole life. Some of y'all ain't never even left the nation to see what other nations provide, to see, ooh, this ain't exactly what they say it is. Some of y'all ain't been to other places. You heard the stuff about Africa. You were afraid. Some of y'all will go to Africa and will get all these shots and take all these pills because they tell you there's going to be all these mosquitoes and all these diseases, and you get over there and you ain't going to see a mosquito. Like, first time I went back home, I promise you, I did not see a mosquito. I think I heard one. That's the closest I got. Never saw one, never was bit. As soon as I got back to the DMV, because that's where the plane landed or whatever, it was either in Reagan International or BMW, one of the two. As soon as I got back to the DMV, oh, wow. Like, I was bit up. On this trip I've been on, like, I've been bit up. Matter of fact, actually, once we got to what, Arizona, New Mexico-ish, and then into California, I don't think I actually, maybe even in Texas, where there mosquitoes, there's probably mosquitoes in Texas. I don't think we dealt with mosquitoes in Texas. I don't think we did. I think we had flies. Flies were in New Mexico and Arizona like mad. I'd never seen so many flies before. That was crazy, and especially in the deserts. But yeah, Cali, I don't think we had any. I mean, there's mosquitoes probably somewhere in California, but I don't think where we were, we went through any of that. Just horrible. Well, I guess but Texas is huge, but I don't know. I don't really remember. We were in H-Town. I forget the other city we stayed in. We almost went to the D or D-Town. I can't remember. I know the D is Detroit, and I just learned when I was down there from people from Detroit or from Dallas that you can call Dallas something about the D, that like something with the word D in it, D-Town, something. Well, anyway, before I get too far into that, but this is there's things that are there's things that are real, that we had to separate from, right? We had to come out of is the whole key, and you got to separate. It starts in your mind. It starts with your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. Love Elohim with what? With all of the heart. The heart is what? What is heart double for in the Hebrew? Somebody help me out. What is the word heart double for? Somebody says love Elohim with all your heart. What is that double for? What's that word heart mean? Love or love. Your passion. Exactly. Right? Your passion. And what are you supposed to be passionate about? If you look at the characters, it's Lamed Bit. Right? Lamed Bit. Right? What does that mean? It means The teacher, or Yashva, the great teacher, the great shepherd, and then Bit, the son who comes out the right family. That's your passion. Love each other. So he wasn't even going outside of culture. He was giving you culture. He was giving you Hebrew characters. He was saying, love each other the way that I have loved you. By that love that you give to one another will men know that you are my disciples. Separate your love. So love your enemies, but don't give the love of your tribe to your enemy. There's different levels. Uh-oh. People don't want to talk about that, but that's why we say if you're going to get into those things, read your Bible. It will bless you. If you're going to speak on it correctly. It says love your enemy, and the problem is that you keep loving your enemy, but then you try to love them the way that you love your family. You can't do that. That doesn't even make sense, does it? Somebody says they love America. Okay, you can't love America at the same level that you love England, and y'all supposed to be the same family, right? But y'all fought each other, and y'all say that one better than the other now. So guess what? You can't really love them the same. If you got multiple children, you got more than one child. I promise you can't love your children equally, because equality is a myth. They're not equal people. They're all different people. That's the problem. You don't know the love language for one child and the other child and the other child. What if one child loves words of affirmation, but one child loves acts of service? One child loves quality time. If one child loves quality time, you can speak all kinds of great things to them, and they will look at you like, I don't really care about these great things. I want you to just give me some time, right? The other person, they really don't want to be around you that much, but if you would just tell them that you love them from time to time, they'd be fine. The other person, they don't care how much quality time you spend with them or what you say. They just want to make sure that you do some things, and when they see through your actions that you love them, right? But you think that it's real, that equality is real. All men were created equal. First of all, equality is a myth. Secondly, when it said all men were created equal, get out of the white, black, all that stuff. All men are created equal. That was only 6% of men. They had to be white landowners. They weren't women, and it wasn't just all white people, right? A lot of white people weren't landowners like that. They didn't qualify, so they couldn't even vote. So even that had to come a long way, right? So even with that, like, so we make this weird thing. Realize, like, they've done so much to divide you and to get you off track and to get you to yell at each other and to get you to just look. Sometimes we got into a place where you can just look at somebody. They have it now to where you'll look at somebody and you'll be like, oh, I can tell everything about them. No, you can't. Kind of, sort of, but not really all the way. Old school, I didn't see any comment that you put up come up at all, right? Like, I would have seen something tell me that your stuff was being muted. So I don't think so. But sometimes that happens to people. Sometimes it happens. My comments never even show up on this stuff. If I were to type in something right now, you wouldn't be able to see it, right? But that gets us back into what I was talking about. We're into fighting each other so much we become experts at fighting each other. It's like I said when I was joking around a couple weeks ago, was it, when I was talking about when we talk to each other, it's like a Rocky movie, that you're in the corner. Instead of being ready to speak and play tennis and just go back and forth, well, I believe this. Okay, no problem. Well, I believe this. No problem. We had this whole thing set up where it's like, oh, you're going to kill him, Rock. You're going to destroy him. That's what we go in. We size each other up, and we get our platforms. We become Republicans and Democrats as if those supersede humanity. And we think the Republicans are better because they're less government, even though both of them deal with the same government. They're two sides of the same coin. Democrats don't care. And by the way, you're talking about you're in a democracy, but there's no such thing as democracy written in your Constitution. How can you have a democracy if it's not even in your Constitution? But because we don't care about law, we're more about legalism. Legalism is tearing your head up. And part of legalism is designed to make sure that they separate you. And if you realize they even have it, if you were to Google the definition, I'm not even making this up. I say this all the time. Look up the definition of capitalism. What is the definition of capitalism? Google it right now. This is not my definition. This is not a canonical viewpoint. This is what your definition is, right? What the government allows for you to search, first thing that pops up, right? What's the first thing that'll pop up? What is the definition of capitalism? Capitalism is a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by private corporations and not the state. The state means government, right? So therefore, the state does not have the power you think it does because they work for the corporations. Why is it that police officers have to meet quotas? As much as they tell you that's BS, I know people in about I'd say at least 8, 9 different police precincts all over the place. I know people that do military police work that I taught them how to do it when I was in. I've been out for a while now, obviously, right? But I've been out for a while and I can tell you how that works. You have to meet quota from time to time. Why do you have to meet quota from time? They won't call it quota all the time, but you have to meet it. Why? Because a lot of these places have private corporations that they've signed contracts with that say we need this many prisoners each month. And if we don't get as many prisoners, you have to actually pay a fee to us to be able to make up for the fact that we didn't make enough money off of all of them. Black, white, indigenous, Spanish, Latina, Latino, Chinese, Japanese, whatever you want to call yourself, right? They have to make a certain amount of money off you, guaranteed. So enough social security numbers need to come through there, guaranteed, right? But you're fighting each other, not realizing that you should separate from any system that's wicked enough to have you guys fighting over something when the reality is they're trying to lock all y'all up. The reason we talk about chattel slavery sometimes is because we need to talk about, hey, if they did it to us, you don't think they'll do it to you? Right? When they started telling you that color didn't matter, right? That was going back to the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery. That goes back to the 1400s, 1453. They didn't start executing it officially. No, 1452. They didn't start executing it officially until 1493. When they sent Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus was sent with a mandate. He was sent by Isabel, who got permission from the Pope. And the Pope said, hey, as long as you get me some slaves and some gold too, you can do whatever you want. Came up with a doctrine of discovery, covered them, sent them in 1492. Doctrine of discovery becomes official 1493, and they started literally killing babies. Wouldn't shoot them in the head or hitting them in the head with hammers because it saved money. And they brought slaves back. And by the way, were there slaves before there were slaves in those parts for the indigenous people? Of course there were. They were tearing each other up. That's why the Crusades started before Christopher Columbus is sent. You got the Crusades already, and Europe, which by the way doesn't mean white. Remember, Europa used to just mean anything that belonged to Rome, and then they created Eurasia and other things. So people that wanted to have the same power over people that Greco-Roman people did, they called themselves European. But there's no such thing as a European continent, because remember, a continent is a landmass completely surrounded, or a large landmass completely surrounded by water, which means that Africa is not a continent, Asia is not a continent, Europe is not a continent. That means that North America and South America are not a continent. They're one because they're connected. Right. And if you look at all of those, technically, they're all one continent, because even though there's water above them, we're all connected underneath, which means that we're all one, even as far as the land is concerned. Right. But you got to separate yourself from the wicked foolishness before you can see that they separate you every day. You hear people all the time, if you just worked harder, I wish you would just work harder. Excuse me, excuse the mess out of me, but I worked 2.5 jobs. My father worked 2.5 jobs. We worked really hard. It wasn't the working harder, it was the working smarter. It wasn't the working harder. It was when I started helping my community out and raised them up that all of a sudden my community looked a little better. Right? A poor person has a poor job, and a poor person will have a poor job. And if you have a poor job, you live in a poor community. If you have a poor community, you'll have poor children. Those poor children will be sent to poor schools. Those poor schools will teach them to have a poor mentality. They'll grow up with that poor mentality and do poor things, sometimes including robbing people and stuff, or just working minimum wage and thinking that's all that it is. And then they'll turn into poor parents and start the whole cycle over again. That's what Malcolm X was talking about. But people only talk about Malcolm X, oh, we don't like him because he hated white people. That's not true at all. He died when he started letting white people in. But you got to separate. You see what I'm saying? You have to separate yourself from the foolishness. Oh, Martin Luther King Jr., we all loved him or whatever. No, it wasn't. Even black people and white people, they signed the census in 1967 and 1968. You can read what they said themselves, where they said he was asking for too much too soon and that he deserved what he got. That's on paper. And then it wasn't until 1992 that all 50 countries or states, right? All 50 states, United States Corporation, all 50 of them finally came together and said, we'll celebrate him. But they want you to believe, oh yeah, he shot, he was killed. We were so sad by it, we became one. We need to get over a lot of this stuff and tell the truth. And shame, what y'all say is tell the truth, shame the devil. If y'all believe in the Bible, right, and all this stuff, well, guess what? Then tell the truth and shame the devil. Like, this stuff is on paper. It's recorded. Right. And don't forget the 10 wisest, white men who are willing to stand up and are getting death threats for us because he loves us. as human beings. Don't forget the Jane Elliott's who's willing to get death threats and still in her 90s getting death threats and people looking for her. And we need to make sure we protect her too. Don't forget about Pastor, let me put respect on his name, Pastor John Brown. Been to his abode a couple times over in West Virginia, where he stood up. Now, it wasn't in his abode, but where he fought for us. Thank you, Sister Kelly. Right? Where he fought for us and died for us and stood there with a noose around his neck. They were getting ready to take the coffin from underneath them so they could hang him. And they said, "You have anything final to say?" And he said, "You know what? You guys are going to have to pay for the blood that you shed, trying to say that people are not people because of the color of their skin." He said that the Most High is going to come back looking for you. But you see what I'm saying? Be whole, be one. Even that word holy, it means what? It means to be one. It means to be one. First things first, at least get together where you're one. You telling this person's evil because they don't believe what you believe in or whatever. At least they're one. That's why they're beating your head in. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like these people that you don't like, these politicians. At least they comprehend we got to be united to make sure that we make this money. You outnumber them, but they control you. How does that work? And you think just because somebody doesn't look like you, they're not you. Like if somebody's grafted in, we got to be one. Right? And so how do you trust somebody? You trust them according to the, give them, see what it is on their merit. See what they do every day. See how they operate every day. Right? Because not all skin folk is kinfolk. Just because you look like me doesn't mean that you love me either. That's why I look for action. Love is action. By this will men know that you are my disciples. By what? By the way that you love one another. But their love can't be just on your level. Your love has to be the way that I have loved you. That's what Yeshua said, or who some of you call Jesus. So if that's what you believe he said, then read your own Bible. It'll bless you. Where's your love for your community? That's what's going to separate you. If you got your business together, where's your product? Because people don't buy the product. Watch this. If somebody buys a product, they buy what you produce. If they buy what you produce, then it's your fruit, which means that you're the tree. So people are looking for what you as a tree produce. And they're looking for that. They call it product. What about you? Separate yourself. And you put yourself into your product that you give out so that people buy your produce, what you produce. What separates you? Right? You got to separate yourself and separate out of the system and allow certain things to be in there. Excuse me, allow certain things to always be in their place. Certain things are not supposed to change. Say whatever you will about me or whatever. People that like me, hate me, people that, find ways to come on and try to cancel culture and all this stuff that exists and everything. I promise you this much. People that don't like me, one thing they can't say is that, oh yeah, he changes his stance. Like every day. Consistent. Say what you will, wherever I am in the world, every day. Like unless it's just I can't get a signal, consistent. Say what you will, every day, uplift my wife. Every day, uplift my children. Every day, uplift my community. Every day, uplift those who want to be grafted in and be human beings, and let's treat each other decently with respect. Every day, grind out here. Every day, even if I make mistakes, because I do, I'm a human being. I'll make several of them today, I promise you. Right? But even in the midst of making several mistakes, every day, still grinding. Oh, wow. Thank you, Sister Kelly. I've never seen that one before. Every day. How you doing, Pastor Thomas? Every day. I haven't stopped yet. Every day. By this love, by this action, will men know that I am his disciple. I'm disciplining him every day. When I don't feel like it, every day. You hear what I'm saying? Separate. I find ways to be able to say, Yahweh, I give you this first, put that on the other side, acquire that firm substance up there. Okay, now that I've done that, how can I rule over things that are supposed to be down here that you've allowed me to be over this environment? Every day, grinding. Right? You can't stop. Oh yeah, most definitely we set apart. And you can't stop it every day. And you can't stop, even if you wanted to stop it. See, because there have been times I've wanted to stop. You know what I've realized? I separated into a position in my life, and a lot of you are getting there now. I separated into a position in my life to where even if I wanted to stop, I can't. Like even if I wanted to give up, I can't. I tried. I've tried several times to just say I'm done. I can't take this no more. And people act the fool. How you doing, Jacob's house? Like people act a fool. People are stupid out here. People saying stupid things. People are demeaning. People are ad hominem. People don't study. People won't even research to see if what I'm saying is factual. They just don't like me because of the way I look or the color of my skin or this and that, etc. Like I'm done. I'm out. I tried to take myself out before. I couldn't. I was too afraid. But I tried. Take myself out in my life. Right. Not recently. Praise y'all. Right. Actually, I'll be honest with y'all. I think I probably had depressive thoughts that have crept in like that last 4 or 5 years or so. A couple in there, but I've never gotten to the level where I was actually going to do anything, you know, because you take on a lot of spirits doing what I do, right? But every day I'll try it. I try to do it to myself. So when the enemy or anybody comes around to try and take me out, like y'all seen, this is why we have Kofi _40, Kofi _42, Kofi _43, Kofi _44. That's why it's hashtag find Kofi on YouTube now instead of SOC. That's why some of you are getting this on the personal Facebook thing and not on our Facebook channel, where we at one time had, what was it, 17,000, 16,000, somewhere around there people on. This is why we're dealing with the stuff the way we're dealing with it. Why? Because they keep canceling us. But I've seen us keep coming back. I see us keep coming back. Right? I've never seen us forsaken, nor I see begging bread. We still here. And so when I realized like I can't stop me, the Most High don't want to stop me unless I act stupid and do something against his will. I realized the devil can't stop me because he ain't got no authority to unless I give him authority. And now I done seen when people try to stop me over and over again, even if I have less reach by number, I seem to always have more reach, you know, as far as the amount of people we're reaching around the world. Then they can't stop me. And when you realize they can't stop me, then who's the only person that can stop me? Self-accountability, right? When you get to that level, when you start getting to a level where you separated enough and you give Yah what's his and you start looking for ways to make sure that you are always perfecting the environment that you have down here, you start saying to yourself, can't nobody stop me but me. And then you start looking for people who ain't trying to stop you. So now you look for people that don't stop themselves. Hallelujah. And you start looking for people who ain't going to stop you. That's when we come together with like-minded folk. If I could say like-minded folk, if I could give a general or a working definition for like-minded folk, you need to get together with folk that don't get stopped and don't try to stop you. And if you start there, you'll find out that even if y'all don't believe in every little thing, y'all are going to be pretty close on everything. When you find somebody that celebrates your victory, who wants your marriage to work and succeed, you find somebody that wants your children to do better, you find somebody who wants your community to do better, you find somebody who loves your heart and loves what you do, it don't even matter. Y'all might fight a lot, but you'll be fighting because you're trying to fight the better of the other person. So you'll deal with it. I promise you. Like when you find somebody like that, when you separate yourself into that position, I'm telling you, it becomes a greater place. It becomes easier to work this thing called life. It becomes easier to be as great as what you were called to be. It becomes simple. It becomes pure. Your goals are a lot. See, a lot of you are working with people that ain't gonna fight to make sure that your vision comes to be, because they don't fight for their vision to come to be. I just said something. Some of y'all missed it. A lot of y'all will not meet people who will fight for your vision to come to be because they don't fight for theirs. A lot of you guys will not meet people that are going to help you to overcome the enemy because they don't overcome the enemy. You said, when will we come to Ghana? Oh, we were just talking about going back to Africa. A lot of people want to go to Ghana. We were trying to go to Kemet. We've been to Ghana before. I mean, I'm sure. So, but at the same time, a lot of people want to go back. So that might be the first place we go. We're gonna have to give people some time to save up their money and everything. But yeah, we should probably make that happen sooner than later. Right? But yeah, like these are things that are there, and these are things that are for us, right? And you're not meeting people. Like if you find somebody, like watch this, even if they're into stuff that is anti-kingdom. You said 2024? Okay. Okay, we'll pray about it. We'll pray about it. Hallelujah, right? We'll pray about it. We're gonna have to have somebody. Actually, we don't even take that much to work that out. People just got to save money because the rest we already got people that'll take care of the rest. So we'll take care of you. Whether y'all want to make sure you in a Airbnb or hotel situation, or you want to go out into the community and have somebody take care of us, like we can do that. Like that's not a problem, right? And when we go there, we're going to make sure we save up a little extra because whenever we go anywhere as a community, we always try to make sure we have a little extra money that goes to the community. So we do something for the children and the adults and stuff and get them some things. But also, when you go there, I want y'all to be prepared to sew into people because there's people that'll make y'all clothes. Like, and I'm telling you, make y'all the finest linen that exists on the earth. And don't even have to measure you. Just got to look at you and be like, okay, I got you. I'll be back, tomorrow. Right. So just be ready to bless folk, when you come there. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, that's something we can talk about. Praise y'all. You don't want to go back home. Oh, that's right. Amen. So there you go. So see, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, right? But when you're looking for somebody like-minded, once again, start off with saying to yourself, is this person willing to believe in themselves, to lift up themselves, to prepare themselves, and to prepare others? If they do that, man, like you're gonna be fine. Be like-minded in that. Y'all might not believe in the same thing. It's okay, right? Contrary to popular belief, right? My wife has started talking about this more publicly, so will I. We didn't believe in the same thing when we met. I knew she was my wife, or I knew she was a wife, though, and I asked her about being my wife. And she asked me about being her husband because she saw I was a husband. She was praying about being a husband or getting a husband and finding a husband and becoming a wife. Even before we met each other, we pre-qualified. So we didn't have the same exact structure of belief. We've come into it now, but we didn't have the same structure of belief. But it didn't matter. We found somebody that push come to shove, I'm trying my best to become a husband. Push come to shove, I'm trying my best to become a wife. Push come to shove, we're trying to become the greatest versions of ourselves. And as we did that, then it became where, all right, at some point, we're going to have to start talking about agreement. And I didn't even know what the agreement was going to look like. Real talk. I didn't even know what that agreement would look like. I just knew at some point, if we're being real about this, at some point, we got to have some agreement. Like at some point, there's going to have to be something, right? But once again, that comes to separating yourself. You've been divided. And when I say separate yourself, give certain things to the Most High. Now put certain things where what are you supposed to be accountable over? Self-accountability, right? So as a husband, I'm accountable for da-da-da-da. As a wife, she's accountable for da-da-da-da, right? And we leave those things in place. There's roles. There's defined roles. And once we know what those defined roles are, we're there. So even if we didn't share the same belief at first when we got together, that part doesn't matter as much as, hey, are you willing to be in your defined role? Do you agree with that? Do you agree in making sure that you will protect me, that you'll honor me, that you'll secure me, that I'll look over you, all these different things? If you're willing to do those things, right, then we can go ahead and we can make this union happen and we can become informed, as we talked about in one of the evening sessions as of late, right? But a lot of times we're so separate that it's hard to be informed. Okay. But anyways, though, we got to stop there today. We got to get ready for the podcast. Minister Tamara's going to take over in a little bit on there. So please be on there, 10 a.m. Eastern New York time on Podbean app. If you want to join us live, you can always watch it later on. You can just look up like my name, the Kofi Ofori podcast. You can always look that up and the information to be on for you guys soon. This information is on YouTube in the description box for sure. Facebook today, we don't have it on in the description box, but you can always look on the YouTube channel or just look up hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI, or hashtag SOC, standing for Servants of Christ. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and take our leave for today. I'll be back in front of you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And we're on once again every day, 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. The only exception is Wednesdays. Wednesdays I take a day off, in which sometimes we have other people step up on the staff and be able to help out to make sure that we still can get a word for those that don't want to take a day off from this stuff or want to come on that specific day to get some of these messages we're giving out. So we're thankful and grateful to every single one of you. Podcast about to be at 10 a.m. We'll have the link sent out on the Google Calendar invite soon. So you guys will be able to get the link for our SOC meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern New York time. It'll probably be brief, but at least we'll be able to meet up a little bit. Don't forget, brothers, we have a men's meeting today at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. I'll probably be traveling somewhere. We just finished going cross country one way, so we're heading back all the way back to the East Coast now. Probably be in the vehicle, but we'll still make sure that we meet up. So brothers, please be ready for that. And if you need information on any of it, just reach out to us. If you're on TikTok, you can look through the link tree to be able to get more information about what we do and where we are. And tomorrow we'll come back and we'll get right back into things. So thank you. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Thank you for praying for us as we've been traveling. We continue to pray for everybody else. I think everybody, especially those of you who don't homeschool and you have your children in regular school, public schools and stuff. I think you guys are pretty much back in school. So we're praying for you guys that your children do well and everything. And we're hoping that, once again, don't just hear this message. Don't believe it because you like us or whatever, or, you think I'm Afrocentric enough or whatever you want to call me. Read it for yourself and study it. See if I'm wrong, see if I'm right. And if there's questions, comments, concerns, bring them up, But our goal is, no matter what it is, make the main thing. Treat each other with humanity. Love on one another with the love that you say that the Christ you say you serve. Then at least love people with that love and respect them as the human beings that were created. Even if you don't believe their sons or manifested in the children of the Most High yet, at least respect them as the creation of the Most High. And but always make sure that you look out for yourself, that you're self accountable, that you can learn, that you can be humble, and we appreciate it. So we talked about Yom Beit today. Tomorrow will be Yom Gimel, or the third period of time, and we look forward to talking to you guys then. So as always, we thank y'all. For my wife, please check her out, the Honorable Amma, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest. You can find her at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, for those that need a little extra Western oomph on it. She's a biologist by degree and been doing stuff as far as healing people and things for over 10 years. Matter of fact, we're part of a community where the people that we come out of and that we actually worked under for a little bit teach people as far as nursing, doctors who come out, surgical techs, CPR, first aid, all that different stuff that's out, phlebotomy, etc. So we do. When she teaches, she's able to teach from different perspectives if you need that, right? The fundraiser, I guess, has always been there, but yeah, check. We'll talk about. Well, can't really talk about the fundraiser too much because just while being on the trip, have been able to. So we checked the numbers a little bit, but we won't be able to talk that on the meeting today. But what we can do is give an update. I'd have to have my wife give the update, and just being honest, because we're on the road and we got here in the middle of the night. I'm not sure if Alma's going to be ready for the meeting or not. But we will make sure that we send out an update. So thank you for the reminder on that, because I haven't been really uplifting that up. Don't forget our meeting October 14th through the 16th in the D up in Detroit. So we look forward to talking to you guys there. What else? I talked about the stuff for this weekend, what we're still doing today and tomorrow. What else am I? Oh, and if you'd like to be able to go virtually to the event, if you're interested in going, we do have to have a mandatory donation for that. Our donations usually whatever you can, and it kind of sort of can be, but we do need to have a donation for that if you're going to be attending virtually. So thank you all. We appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. We're praying for you. Minister Tamara's going to be up in a second on Shabbat Shalom podcast. So check her out at 10 a.m. Eastern New York time. You have to have the Podbean app if you want to join us live. The Podbean app, PODBEAN, and then you just look for my name, the Kofi Ofori podcast, and she'll be giving the message then. Right after that, we're going to jump into our SOC meeting, and then right after that, we hope that you have a great Shabbat. And brothers, we look forward to talking to you guys at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. Ladies, don't forget, next week it'll be you guys who have your meeting at 7 p.m. Eastern New York time. I'm coming out of the book. I don't remember the name of the book, but the one that's about Mary and Martha. One of the sisters, can y'all help me real quick? What's the name of the book that you guys are using for your meetings? Real quick. It got to be real quick if somebody can. Anybody remember the name of the book? Anybody been studying the book? Anybody been reading it? I know some of y'all know the title. Oh, it's called Mary Martha, Merry Martha. Okay, cool. All right. So, and you can look up the book, by the way. I know there's PDFs and stuff out there as well. But we thank you guys. We appreciate you. We look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. And if we don't catch you on the other platforms, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. Shabbat Shalom, peace be upon thee. Remember your affirmations, Romans 8:1, Romans 8:11, Romans 8:18, Romans 8:19, Romans 8:28. And do not forget to live in the period, and don't stop things with just the period, right? And as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Hello, how you doing, Stella? Please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be able. All right. Shabbat Shalom. Peace, everybody. Take care.